Welcome to Job Sharing and Beyond, the Future of Work podcast that goes beyond the traditional 9 to 5. I am Karen Tischler, speaker, consultant, and host of the show, where we hear from global experts every other week to discover innovative solutions and tips on how to remain a relevant employer in the future. I am very excited to have two guests today. Katharina Wiench and Esther Himmen have been a tandem, joint leadership experts, and tandem coaches since 2016. Together, they lead the consulting and coaching firm Pairforming with an AI. As experienced managers, both have successfully led projects and teams for many years. Two strong women without the quest for self-glorification, yet with the purpose of revolutionizing the image of leadership. Katharina Wiench, Diplom Kauffrau, studied business administration and has a long track record as a versatile manager in different industries, from 24/7 call centers to personnel management, and with a strong focus on developing innovative organization design models. She has coached leaders and facilitated organizations as an external expert for more than a decade. Her areas of expertise are agile leadership, performant company cultures, and good governance. In her PhD research, she laid the ground for better understanding the complex relation between diversity and leadership. Esther Himmen has an MSc in business psychology and looks back on several years of management experience in medium-sized companies in the chemical industry and non-for-profit sector, with focus on group-wide international organization development and change management. Her scientific research regarding the interest in TopSharing built the basis for the current qualitative joint leadership research of performing among TopSharing tandems and their stakeholders in various industries and functions. For many years, Esther has been fully committed to making innovative work and management models better known and advising people who are interested in TopSharing. Thank you so much for coming to the show, Esther and Katharina.
Thank you for your invitation.
Thanks for having us.
It is so interesting to hear what you guys have already done regarding job sharing and TopSharing. So now for anyone who is listening to us for the first time, could you please give them a brief definition of what job sharing is and how that is different from TopSharing? Would you like to start?
Esther?
Yeah. Yes, of course. So our definition of job sharing is that one tandem with two persons share one job. And top sharing is just another term for job sharing for executives. So just like co-leadership or dual leadership, so we have discussed for a long time what we think is the best term for this concept and to express this concept. And we came up with a different one. So we prefer joint leadership. So this reflects best, from our point of view, this reflects best the core of this concept because it's appreciative cooperation between two equal managers.
Okay. And so now people would like to know, how did you both start and how did you meet?
Well, we both met in 2016 already. It's 4 years ago.
Wow.
It was on a matching platform, to be honest, for potential TopSharing tandems. Mm-hmm. We both were interested in this leadership style. This was not new to us both, and we met there. And Esther, for example, was interested because she was looking for an opportunity to work in a new manager's role in part-time. after her second degree course in psychology. She did a course in business psychology. And myself, I was looking for a second business pillar besides my role as facilitator and coach. So when we met for the first time there on this platform, we met, and our chemistry was right from the very beginning. So we quickly realized also how much we both are passionate about this way of leading and working. And later on, we realized also that there's a big need on the one side of the tandems and on the company side, a big need for support when it comes to implement this model. And we decided to dig deeper and become the experts for TopSharing. So this is more or less our purpose, one could say. We want to help revolutionize the leadership world, so leaders will be better prepared for future challenges.
Thank you. Esther, I love data, and your book TopSharing is so awesome. It provides a unique quantitative study about the potential interest in TopSharing of your sample. Could you please tell me and our listener more about that book and what the main results were?
Yeah. So having my own experience with TopSharing and being a real fan of this model due to its many advantages for both tandems and companies, I wanted to measure the potential interest in that model in TopSharing. So, and additionally, I wanted to find out more about the individual motivation of managers and experts for this working model. So in 2017, I carried out this study among 146 highly qualified managers and experts, from project managers to CEOs, who work in different companies, positions, and functions. So the sample consisted of 73 women and 73 men. And what can be interesting, maybe that 84% had an academic degree and 45% were parents. So, and concerning the key findings, so there are at least two key findings, I would say, which are very important also for our work now as Pairforming. First, the interest in TopSharing is very high, and surprisingly, both among women and among men. And talking about numbers, in average, more than 2/3, 67%, were quite highly interested in the idea of sharing a management or expert role. So the highest interest we found in the age cohort 31 to 40. This means that 83% of them were interested in TopSharing, and this is quite high, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the second, at the same time, we learned that the overwhelming number of respondents had never heard of the possibility to work as an expert or manager in a shared role. And in total, 64% of the sample, which applies to 73% of men and 55% of women surveyed in the study. So this really surprised us, and to be frank and honest, we were somewhat shocked. Why? JobSharing is not really a new model, you know. So since the 80s, there are already legal regulations for that working model in Germany. But the fact that so many people don't know that JobSharing on management level is possible showed us that our society really needs more visible role models. And we already knew about so many successful and happy TopShare tandems. And this led us to our current empirical work, and maybe Katharina can just follow with some ideas about that.
Yeah, of course, because these days were very interesting for both of us. We already knew each other, so I was very close in during this study, of course, and we were talking a lot about the key findings and why we thought what would be the reasons for that, and what would be the reasons for the interest in TopSharing that led us to the study we do now, the ongoing empirical research we are working on, because we just wanted to find out more about this model, and we were so curious to get to know more and more of these tandems and to talk to them. So currently, we focus more or less on the everyday practice of TopSharing tandems and their professional environment. And we are working hard on the first study report. It will be there soon, we hope. And what was very interesting, because we're working on this study since 1 year more or less now, and what made us so happy was the reactions of the tandems we were talking to. And it seems that the tandems we talked to were inspired by our research themselves. And that was astonishing also. One interesting finding for us was that obviously some of the tandems only realized at that moment when they were talking to us that their practice is actually super modern and innovative.
This is thank you so much for sharing, because yesterday I read an article about flexible work here in Canada. And, typically what people would think of flexible working is, the hours when you start or when you end is different. And now obviously with COVID, it's remote working, but job sharing is typically at the very bottom if it is ever mentioned. And I think it is so important for people in Canada and around the world to have more role models, to understand that it is already successfully done. So I'm so appreciative that you both can be here and share your experience with the rest of the world. So people say, this is really happening and it is successful. And it is, as you said, it is a modern way of looking at work, and it provides so many benefits for so many people, and it also helps to diversify the workforce. So I'm so appreciative that you are here. And now, one thing I saw was when on your website you're writing about that it's courage culture companions. That was so interesting for me. Could you explain a little bit more why you said that word? And either of you, go ahead.
Okay, sure. We try.
Yeah.
We try to share our thoughts, which led to the title. There are different thoughts. On one hand, or firstly, whenever you initiate new work and leadership models, and you want to change anything, it always is a matter of smaller. To a smaller extent, it's a matter of technicalities, but it's primarily a cultural shift. And as always, cultural shift needs courage to do this. So secondly, if you embark on such a journey and it has proved to be helpful to have trustworthy external companions who serve as mirrors and coaches and who serve as facilitators of this process, and that's what in our opinion just fits perfectly to the way we look at us and our role in our work with companies and with tandems.
Thank you. So now, with your study and your experience, people might say, who is the typical TopSharing tandem for? Is it for mainly mothers, or does it go across the board? What has been your experience recently? And has it changed? That's the other thing. Has it changed of what you've noticed over time? Who is interested more and more in TopSharing?
Well, TopSharing today is interesting for many people. In our research, we got to know many ways of how TopSharing is lived. You'll find mixed gender tandems and tandems where both are male or both are female. The tandems work in all varieties of part-time And there are even tandems where both work 100% each. So you'll find tandems in all roles and on all hierarchy levels in organizations. Some tandems split the role into clearly segmented work pieces, and some share everything entirely. And you have long-term or interim solutions. So let's put it like this. The model is perfect to increase flexibility for traditional leadership roles. Yeah, Katharina, would you like to summarize who will be interested in working as TopShare?
Yeah, sure. Well, we would say there are three main groups. First, moms and dads, because it will give them a tool to shape their ideas of balancing career plus family. And maybe this is something that has changed over the past decade. Today, not only moms, but more and more dads are interested in spending more time with their families. And it seems to be more and more accepted that this comes together with flexibility of traditional working models for both men and women. A second group would be soon to retire employees, as we see it, because it will give them the opportunity to share their knowledge and experience with a successor. And the third group, well, generally for every manager and specialist who wants to relieve the pressure and burden that is imposed on them together with their job. Because, well, as we see it today, the expectations we have towards management roles concerning availability, expertise, and handling of complex problems often seem to be impossible to fulfill by just one individual. So, dear listener, if that sounds familiar to yourself, just start to think about it. How could my management role be improved if I shared it with a tandem partner?
Right.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's really helpful for somebody who is listening and might not be that familiar with TopSharing to understand how widely it is being used and what potential there is. And now, what do you recommend? Like when somebody say is going to try and return back to the paid workforce, as we were saying, it is among others a good possibility for somebody who's trying to return. How do people do this? Do they find a partner first and then apply together, or what would you recommend?
Well, we find everything out there, so anything is possible. What we would recommend always is to start to look at yourself more or less.
Mm-hmm.
You should always start asking yourself whether this would be a good role for yourself and whether you'd be personally ready for working in that in a shared leadership role. We both, Esther and me, we are great fans of this model, and we are convinced that any role, really any role, can be filled with a tandem.
Mm-hmm.
But we would say there are two big caveats. First is not every personality is suitable for joint leadership, and not every corporate culture will fit for joint leadership. So we would always recommend for the tandems or for potential tandem partners and for companies to allocate some time and effort first to find out about these preconditions for success sharing. And you would ask us what would we do, and there are some questions we would suggest to ask yourself to find out whether this model fits good for you. One question would be, of course, you should ask yourself whether you would be whether you would like to work as part of a team or whether you're a team player. You should also ask yourself whether you are ready to share responsibilities and big thing is you have to ask yourself, would I be relaxed enough to take some days off or take some holidays off and give possibilities to my tandem partner? You should ask yourself, will I be open for critical questions by my tandem partner? And will it be okay for me if my decisions will be challenged by him or her?
Yeah.
For example. And well, trust is also, of course, one big challenge. You should be open. You should be able to trust your tandem partner. And this sounds very easy, but it's seems quite helpful, and that's what tandem partners also told us, that it's helpful to ask yourself these questions. So you do a check whether you will be ready for joint leadership. So, and maybe, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And maybe concerning your question, whether someone should look first for a tandem partner and then apply, or after, or other way around. So we think in the most cases it is easier to look first for a tandem partner and to find first a suitable tandem partner, and check that that if it fits or not, and then afterwards that they both apply as a tandem. It's much easier from our experience, I think, as in comparative, or how do you say it?
In comparison, maybe?
In comparison to the case when you apply on a job and say, oh yeah, I would also be ready to work in a job share, but when then normally many companies are how do you say they are überfordert.
Okay, so like, yeah, so they're overwhelmed maybe with the idea of having to deal with that, of searching for somebody, or
yeah. So it's much better to already come to the company with an idea and with a tandem, and with maybe the best case would be that you already have good experience together as a tandem. So of course this is the best case. So just this is concerning your question, before or afterwards, and for the maybe then it's a question where to find, where can I find the partner, and of course, it's always a good idea to talk to colleagues, trustful maybe, to friends, to tell people about your idea for your future joint leadership role, or for this idea that you want to share, just such a role. And if you ever work closely to a colleague, and you think this might be a good fit, then talk to him or to her. And many times we found each other just like this, and talk about it also in social media. Use business platforms like LinkedIn, for example, or LinkedIn groups. And also what can be also a good idea, and this is what we experienced, we told already, that you use platforms specialized on job sharing to find potential tandem partners. So Katharina and me, we didn't know each other before. So we were not friends. Often we are asked, do we have to be friends to job share? And we say, no, you don't have to be friends, but you should be connected in a friendly way, or in a friendship way, like on a trustful way, maybe.
Right.
But we didn't know each other, and we searched us for this reason, because we wanted to find a tandem partner. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you're a perfect example how it can happen for anybody out there who might be, well, how is that possible? And now, like, listening to you guys, it just sounds there are so many benefits, and I still don't really understand why it isn't more widely used. TopSharing as well as JobSharing. And what do you guys think the reason is when you talk to people and who may not have heard about it before? Why do you think it still isn't as widely used?
It's a really good question. We keep on asking ourselves all the time. Well, we have some ideas, of course, on that. We could talk about.
So do we have here several hours to talk about?
That's a good point. Yeah. So what do you think? What are your main ideas of why it isn't that widely used?
Well, in a nutshell, maybe we believe that we all are rather trained to look for heroic leaders for what cause ever. And we are trained in universities and even in management training programs. You know, on one hand, we teach that managers have to be cooperative today, and they have to be inclusive leaders and with many soft skills. On the other hand, we expect from managers and from leaders to be the lonesome leader at the end of the day and to carry the weight of important decisions all by himself or by herself. So what maybe needs to be changed, some ideas. Well, we were talking about this earlier also. We are convinced that we have to start talking more proactively about good examples of joint leadership. And to be honest, one thing that always astonishes us until today, it's we have so many examples right in front of our nose, more or less. It looks like we don't see them, and even successful tandems we got to know in the last years, some of them don't even talk about that they work as a in a joint leadership role together. So we think we have to try and motivate more and more of these tandems to talk about their own experience and share best practice and talk about their story. And that's what we do, and that's what motivates us. And why we think this is so important is that one of the things we found out during this the study we are currently working at is that not only the tandems, when they reflect about their work together, it really seems that they do a better work. It's easier for them. It's easier, like balancing work and life whatsoever. But also their surrounding, their bosses, their stakeholders, the employees, the peers, their customers, they all say, it's really a better way of working. It's easier for us, and we are more satisfied with this way of working. And we even have more satisfied shareholders. So this gets also interesting more and more nowadays. So this is what we think we have to do. We just have to keep on talking about this.
Like you do here with your podcast, for example.
That's exactly, I when I thought about creating the podcast, I really felt there were so many examples of TopSharing and JobSharing in German-speaking countries. And I felt if somebody doesn't speak German, how would they ever be able to read about it? And so that's why I'm so appreciative that you guys are talking in English about it to make it more known to a wider audience and give people a much better understanding and concrete examples of why it is such a good way of working, and that it isn't just some one-off thing, but that it is much more commonly used than one would have maybe thought. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think we this is another interesting thing. I think it's maybe a global thing that we rather pick out the examples where failure happens, because now I was thinking about the SAP TopSharing tandem, which only lasted for 6 months or so, and they broke up again for whatever reasons. So maybe some of the people listening to the podcast today, they may be like thinking about these examples, but there are not so many examples of unsuccessful tandems, but we believe there are much more examples of successful tandems, and we have to start talking about these successful examples, because there we can learn much more, of course. Yeah.
I fully agree. And now, with regard to COVID, have you guys noticed any changes, or whether in attitude or more people coming and asking about it? And because, like, the more one reads about it, people, I feel, start realizing more and more about the effort it really takes to do homeschooling, to do unpaid care work, and working, how this basically can't be all done in a way that maybe previously people might have thought. So I'm just curious.
Okay. Just
Yeah,
to check
Esther, go ahead.
yeah. So what can we say to that point? Yeah, we see a change at the moment, but we have also to say that for more than 30 years now, TopSharing has been already a great answer to the VUCA challenge, and we are convinced that now with COVID-19, it becomes paramount to all of us that we all need to be more resilient and tolerant to uncertainty. So, and TopSharing can be one solution, and one very good solution for that. But why is it like this? Why do we think so? So TopSharing tandems are more capable, they are more capable to deal with uncertainty. They build up routines like permanently exchanging and challenging their perspectives on peer level. So they are experienced in dealing with their anxieties and with uncertain conditions and circumstances for decision making and multiple complex challenges, for example. So, and they learn that failing forward for leaders is not a matter of weakness, but pure necessity. So we think that these are perfect preconditions for the rising acceptance for joint leadership models today and in the future, also through COVID-19 now.
Thank you. So, I mean, to me, it's just, yeah, I could sit here all day long, to be honest, and listen to you, because it is so fascinating. I truly hope that we can share more, make it more well known, so that in the future there are more people who even have heard about it and say, let's try this out. Now, is there anything else you would like to share with the audience today that we haven't covered yet?
Did we talk about, I don't know, did we talk about the question what organization should keep in mind to implement? I'm not sure. Did we talk about this question?
I think we might have just very briefly talked about. So please, that will be really important. Yes.
I just thought maybe this can be interesting for some organization people. Maybe so we would recommend that to start with a pilot project, one should focus on 3 main aspects. First, make sure the tandem shares common values and brings the readiness for radical self-reflection to the table. So sharing common or similar values, it's I think, or we believe, that's quite the most important precondition a tandem should bring into that model. And it's very, very crucial for the success of the tandem. And second, make sure that the corporate culture is open and ready to learn throughout the process, and that the management gives their commitment to this concept. So management commitment is really, really very much important. And third, ensure transparent communication within the organization and towards all stakeholders. And of course, such a change process requires professional external support. So I just thought maybe this can be also an interesting or important point.
Well, maybe, don't know, famous last words.
Famous last words.
We are convinced that it is time for a fundamental change in how we lead companies today. TopSharing has proved to be a powerful tool to fundamentally challenge traditional leadership routines in organization. That's what we find also in our study. So think about what we talked about earlier in this podcast, about chances and prerequisites, and about how easy it is to take the first step finally. So let's put it this way. Whoever you are, and whether you may be interested in TopSharing for yourself or for your company, be courageous, give it a chance, use professional external advice, of course, and just do it. And in the end, you will find out about the convincing power of your tandem performance.
And we, the Performing Tandem, wish you all the best for this challenge.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It is such a pleasure that both of you could be here today and talk to me. And I'm super appreciative. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you to having us here. And it was a pleasure for us because it corresponds to our mission. And it's like a heart mission, or how do you say? It's from our heart. Yeah. So just to make this model more known and better known. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to the show. We hope you gained valuable insights and new ideas. To keep listening to future episodes, please head over to iTunes or your favorite player and subscribe and give it a rating. We would very much appreciate a review and for you to share it on social media, so more people can start innovating in how they offer employment. Until the next time, goodbye!